I've tested the DJI Neo 2 for 100 days in real-world conditions. Hands-free Jedi mode, foggy bike tracking, skiing follow mode, freezing, battery tests, manual ND shots and different audio setups. This is not a first impression, this is my honest verdict. And the real question is simple: would I buy this little buddy again? Okay, so what is the DJI Neo 2 really? After 100 days I can say this very clearly. The DJI Neo 2 is not a cinematic drone, it's a flying camera assistant, and once you understand that, everything about this product here makes sense. The defining features is the hands-free Jedi mode, palm launch, take a step back, use gesture controls, and it follows you without the controller in your hand. And that experience lowers the barrier between idea and execution more than any spec ever could. With larger drones I usually plan shots, prepare settings and think about exposure, but with the DJI Neo 2 I just launch it and start recording. And because it weighs only 151 grams, around 160 grams with the digital transceiver attached here, which you need if you want to use the remote controller, and it fits into almost any bag I bring with me far more often, and that naturally means I use it far more often. So did it actually perform in real conditions? That's interesting, and yes, I intensively tested it outside of perfect conditions. I rode my bike in heavy fog with low visibility and reduced contrast and let it track me, and despite those conditions it stayed locked onto me more consistently than I expected. To be completely honest, it did crash twice into a tree, but the sensors simply can't recognize everything, especially in bad weather with low contrast and thin branches, so that wasn't really surprising. Then I took it skiing in real winter conditions at real speed and it followed me almost the entire run. Sometimes it was slightly reactive in its corrections, but overall it was very usable, and this time I didn't crash at all, so I would definitely call this as a win. I also performed a full cold battery test at around 0 degrees Celsius, which is 32 degrees Fahrenheit, one continuous flight without pre-warming the battery, and while DJI claims up to around 19 minutes in normal conditions, you realistically see around 13 to 14 minutes depending on your flight style and speed. And in freezing temperatures you lose even more. That's also why I bought the Fly More combo with 2 additional batteries, and I even added a 4th battery so I can roughly fly around an hour without recharging. But with proper planning and realistic expectations it remains completely workable, so in fog, snow and cold weather it delivered, and honestly that surprised me in a positive way. So is controller mode better than hands-free? Yeah. Controller mode makes the Neo 2 feel much closer to a traditional DJI drone with cine, normal and sports mode, and more precise framing using physical sticks. But the reason this drone truly stands out is not the controller mode, it's hands-free mode. Controller mode adds precision, hands-free mode adds freedom. And that freedom is what makes spontaneous aerial storytelling feel almost effortless. The picture quality is decent for its size, but we don't have 10-bit recording or other high-end camera features, so it clearly sits between categories. It's not a toy anymore, but it's also not Mavic level drone. So one important thing to consider is that the controller is another piece of gear you have to carry, and the setup takes longer compared to hands-free mode. So I would personally use it only when I really plan the flight. If you want to use the remote controller, you need DJI separate digital transceiver, this module here, which has to be attached to the back of the drone with a screwdriver. Otherwise the RC connection won't work. For hands-free or phone mode, it's not required, but the range is much more limited. With the transceiver and controller, you get significantly more range, which is one of the reasons I chose the Fly More combo as well. So maximum flexibility, I would say. And because the drone is very lightweight, flying at 120 meters in strong winds is not always easy, even though the footage itself remains surprisingly stable, thanks to the built-in stabilization system and the gimbal. Does phone-only control make sense? Surprisingly it does. Flying just with the DJI Fly App works better than most people would assume, especially for short flights and quick adjustments, and although I personally prefer a controller for longer distances, or let me phrase it differently, more precise framing, the fact that the Neo 2 can be properly controlled with only a smartphone really shows how flexible and accessible it is. For me, it feels like the perfect middle ground if you want a bit more manual control without carrying the full controller setup. Would I use it all the time? I don't think so, no. But for monitoring where the drone is during follow shots on the bike or while skiing, it's absolutely useful and gives you an extra layer of confidence without adding much complexity, yeah. And the best part is that you usually don't need any additional gear because your phone is already in your pocket. So, keep it simple. Can you get cinematic footage out of it? Yes, but only if you understand exposure and leave auto mode. I tested manual settings in bright sunlight using magnetic ND filters and controlled the shutter speed properly. And when you compare the footage without filters and with filters, the difference in motion blur and overall movement is clearly visible. I also tested ND polarizing filters, which not only control exposure but additionally reduce reflections and increase contrast, especially useful when shooting around water, snow or bright landscapes. And then there is the black mist filter, which doesn't control exposure at all, but slightly softens highlights and adds a subtle glow to bright areas, giving the footage a more cinematic, organic look, I would say. I actually like the black mist a lot and use it most of the time on my DJI Pocket 3 as well, so having that option on the Neo 2 is something I personally enjoy, especially for sunset shots or more atmospheric scenes. What about audio while it's following you? So audio is one of the biggest challenges with follow drones, so I tested multiple setups, including phone recording in natural and pure mode, the DJI Mic Mini via Bluetooth, the mobile receiver and the DJI Mic 2 in standalone mode synced in post. The cleanest result definitely came from the standalone Mic 2, although it required more editing effort afterward. So once again, it becomes a balance between convenience and maximum quality, depending on your workflow. But what I really like is that you actually have several options, including the ability to record audio directly into your drone file here via the app, which keeps things simple if you want a lightweight setup without additional syncing in post. Why did I even make a video about bags? Because portability really defines this drone. DJI didn't even include a proper small pouch, so I wanted something that protects it without adding unnecessary bulk. And that's why I tested a compact hard case and even a small neoprene sleeve DIY solution, I would say. That whole process actually says a lot about how this drone integrates into daily life. When a drone is small enough to simply live in your sling bag without you even thinking about it, you naturally start bringing it everywhere, and that completely changes how often you capture aerial footage. So where does it struggle? That's a good question. There are clear limitations. Internal storage only with no micro SD slot, a 2-axis gimbal instead of a full 3-axis stabilization, limited low light performance, battery life that is decent but not exceptional, and tracking that can still fail in complex environments. And if you really zoom in and pixel peep, image quality is not flagship level. But none of these limitations surprised me after 100 days, because I never expected cinema level performance from a drone in this category. And when you look at where it sits in the market, roughly around 200 euros for the drone itself and about 420 euros for the Fly More combo, it becomes clear that it's positioned as an accessible, lightweight content tool, not a professional cinema platform. In that context, the compromises feel understandable rather than disappointing. Did it replace my other drones? No, it didn't replace my other drones, but it created a new category in my workflow. Before buying the Neo 2, I actually considered getting the DJI Mini 5 Pro, especially because I was looking for more image quality and flexibility. And the reality, however, is that I don't fly my older DJI Mini 2 as often as I thought I would. Mainly because of regulations and the extra effort that comes with flying a larger drone. Regulations have improved recently, but the Neo 2 still gives me more, I would say, flexibility and fewer mental barriers. So it didn't replace my bigger drones, it changed how often I actually use a drone. And that might be the more important metric. So, my final verdict: would I buy it again? After 100 days, the answer is yes. Not because it has the best specifications, not because it has the longest battery life, but because it reduced friction between idea and execution. And friction kills creativity. The easier it is to create, the more you create. And this drone definitely made me create more content. If you understand what it is and what it isn't, the DJI Neo 2 is one of the most practical and enjoyable small drones you can buy right now. It's not about cinematic perfection, it's about usability and consistency. And what makes this even more interesting is that this ultra compact autonomous follow me category is becoming more competitive. So in the next video I will test another drone in this space under the same real world conditions with the same honest workflow focused approach. If you want to see that, consider subscribing here, and if this verdict helped you, feel free to leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments below. Stay healthy, take care, and I will see you in the next one.